Origins. I come from Mesopotamia, where civilization commenced and terminated, and then I was born, where bombs are planted in the soil instead of seeds of corn, where children's flesh turns into oil, and palaces are built of their bones, where a state of war is always on the boil for a mirage called a throne. The price of oil. The Iraqi human was created to be oil, for wars or for jets or for something else. Who knows? The Iraqi was created mainly to be a kind of fossil fuel. When the Iraqi human dies, she will return to the bottom in the form of oil, to be deposited as part of the national treasury. Then it would gush voluntarily in the middle of a poor village, later being stolen and smuggled by a tanker labeled clean water and sold in the black markets to the unknown. The rich Iraqis, those who had lived and died in the hand of God, they will be the fuel of the jet that runs between Paris and London, while the poor ones will be refined to the cheapest kind of fuel being handed over to displaced people in the camps. It will hardly keep the fire ignited, the fruit of warmth, while their children shiver around it. The dirty politicians, they have chosen to be the fuel, stuck in missiles' asses falling on the innocents once again, to melt them down with the photos of their grandparents affixed on the walls. Refugee. I came to you walking on the shrapnel of broken things. I came to you carrying detonation camps, surrounded by oceans and freedom. I came to you with a huge sandstorm confined within my chest. I came to you like 1,000 souls trapped inside a bottle. I came to you like 1,000 souls trapped inside a bottle. From the line of the newspaper, I jumped to crumple your newspaper. I came to you as good news or bad news, the blank page that you will one day have to read. I came to you from the furthest end of your thinking. I came to you infiltrating all walls of the fake media and misleading news. I broke the screen of your phone and I stood like a jinn of the lamp to narrate my true story. I came as a proof that the world is still small despite the long line at the customs and the surveillance cameras alongside the borderline. I came to you in clouds of fumes, with heat waves from the south, on breezes from Mediterranean or the Atlantic or the Arab Gulf. I came from a holy fence, from a thick wall collapsed between two lovers, because walls could be built in our minds, nowhere else. I came from a novel written by a bankrupt writer, from electoral campaign, or from a rally to support the war on Iraq or Afghanistan or Iran. I came to you from the muddy boots of a soldier who has stood on the stained soil of Afghanistan. I came to you like this. I am the blood that oozes out of the vibrant wounds from my land that was intentionally stabbed. I came to you from an old scar on humanity that hasn't been cured. I came to you like the bill on the floor from the slit in your door, because I am the debt that no one wants to pay. From the flood that submerged my village and devoured my beautiful past, I come to you born again from under the rubble of my house. I rise like a giant, haunted, ashen, pale like the moon of autumn. I rise like an enchanted plant towards the light, the noise, the crowds. I rise like a rose in the desolate backyard of a deserted house on the edge of your town. Smuggler. I survived the volcano that devoured my town. My poems are written with ash on my skin despite all pains and hurricanes. I am the only one who didn't drown the crosser of the sea without boat. I walk on liquid surfaces and lava. Never burned. I stayed aloof. I never went down. I am the only person in this town whose eyes are forests of a city called Mosul. I am the only man in this town who smuggled an Eastern cafe to Europe. When I left my country, the meadows cried. I left an archive of never-ending love. I stripped a small piece of the sun's light and I crammed in my holly pocket a handful of stars and I hoofed it on bare feet. I was a fleet. I glanced left and right. And I smuggled the intimate moon on a brightening night. I smuggled the fragrance of memories in the jars of years. Me and my shadow. My lungs are stuffed with desert. My thoughts are giant trees. My face is extensions to my hometown's features. My palms lions are narrow alleys leading always to my grandmother's house in the old town, close to a minaret called Al-Hadba, the Hunchback. I am the rampant rumor in the world that you heard about. I am the stranger that your mother has warned you not to approach. I am the bread and the butter for the hungry news channels. My face is a sketch of a small floating boat on the sea, looking for home, filmed by drone. My heart is a grove of ripening olives, despite the diaspora, despite those who pushed me to flee. My dark hair is washed with a crude oil that gushes like sadness from a scar in the soil. My eyes are black holes in the expanding cosmos, which pull you to the endless road of questions. My eyes are 2 cups of a still hot coffee that 2 lovers left before they broke up, gazing into the foam, how it twinkles like a sprinkle of children playing in the rear garden of a school used as shelter. Just before they heard the air raid sirens scattered to their moms, leaving a big clutter, they left question looking for an answer. No one stayed where they played, only a ball rolled by a cat, clay rolled by the hands of a worried God. I am the one who closed his eyes and inhaled all images before ants found their way to swarm over my sweet memories. When I looked at myself in the mirror, a stranger appeared and grinned at my veil of teeth. A stranger appeared and muttered what I didn't understand, and then shouted, You pray for love to spread. You are swung on the blade of Apis. Clung you are on the crystal of Kant. I peer through pushes of doubt how you slide down, how you recede like love from your town, like a growing tea running nowhere. You pray for love to spread, and your life is a cult of illusion. Don't stir the inferno of grief in me. Don't stare at me from the orifice of truth. Your glance prays into the water of dreams. You are space agency beams, their message to a lost spacecraft, to a lost spacecraft, to a lost spacecraft. You count the stars that vanished like lanterns in a spooky scene while you took your last sip of coffee. Your wishes attacked you like locusts. They devoured your rain before your eyes filled with silt, split on the edge of a flood, an open mouth like a black hole. Eat your time. Eat your time. Don't slack to observe it. Ditch the self you just have found. Ditch the self you just have found. Spill yourself into a pool of remorse and birch on your knees on the blade of the truth. The light is rampant like air in the balloon. The truth is the bone stuck in the throat. The surface of flake is skimped by a stone. The colors of a mirror scrapped by a razor. Ditch the self. Ditch the self you just have found. Your shadow stalks you. Your shadow stalks you wherever you go. Like Bonser. Like a Bonser. Your shadow traces you wherever you go. Like a Bonser.